All right, we just did, planetary synodic period at the whiteboard, and that probably makes a lot more sense than actually viewing it here. But, if this is a little bit clearer or a little bit more sharp for you to view, this answers the last two questions on page 115, the last two questions of the entire unit. Yeah, defining synodic period and who's got the longest one. So, there's a good short definition, flashcard worthy for what synodic period is. It's the length of time for a planet to get back to the same angle with the sun. When you say planetary synodic period. Now, what was the moon's synodic period again? How long did it take to get back to the same angle with the sun? That was the same as saying, how long did it take to get back to the same phase, wasn't it? Right? And that was 29.5 days, the old month for the moon. Well, we don't talk about, full planet, do we? Rather, we think about when it's at opposition, yes, which is kind of the condition for full. So we say planetary opposition to opposition is a synodic period, or planetary inferior conjunction. If you're an inferior planet, back to the next inferior conjunction is also a synodic period, or, what's the thing that basically all the planets can do? Getting to the far side of the sun, yeah? And what kind of conjunction is that? For an inferior planet, we call it superior conjunction. For a superior planet, we just call it conjunction, don't we? So, choose your favorite solar angle, 0 or 180 degrees, and it's just the length of time for the planet to do that, to go from a superior conjunction back to a superior conjunction, or if you're a superior planet, to go from opposition back to opposition. Okay. So we had drawn on the whiteboard, using Mars as our example, because ultimately that's going to be the planet with the longest synodic period. But here's the drawing portion of it on a PowerPoint slide. If that was not quite so clear, I was kind of standing in the way. You're right. But we're going to begin Mars off here at opposition. I sure hope you agree that that's the correct geometry here. Earth in between Mars and the sun. Opposition. Earth sees sun, opposite Mars. And after a full year, what is the Earth going to do? Well, it's going to have circled the sun completely, isn't it, right? In a solar year to get back to the exact same position again. Mars takes slightly less than 2 years to orbit the sun once. So in an Earth year, it goes ever so slightly more than halfway around its orbit. So in an Earth year, we'll get Earth right back to its original position. That says 1 year later. And Mars will be here, just barely over halfway around its orbit. Okay. And of course, Earth was the faster of the two, so it was always leading the race. And now it's back to this finish line, and Mars is barely halfway through the entire race course. So, the slower mover. In the next year, Earth will keep running, and it will almost try to catch Mars. And it'll do a pretty good job of cutting down the distance and almost lapping it. But after 2 Earth years, Earth, of course, will be right back to where it started, the race. And Mars will be a little bit further along. Because after 2 whole Earth years, it's made a full orbit plus a little bit more. And it's not going to be until about 2 months after that, 2 years and 2 months, or 26 months total, that Earth will finally catch up Mars and lap it one more time. So that's the next time that Mars will be in opposition. And that is the definition of what a synodic period is. So in Mars' case, it takes, the longest of all the superior planets to get back to opposition, because it's semi-speedy, and it takes us a while we got to go twice around the whole track until we finally lap it one more time. Imagine if my grandmother was on the outermost ring, and you're racing her. How far would she have gone in a full year? A few paces past the start line, that would be about it. And you'd go around once, and then you'd pass her up very quickly thereafter. So, well, you don't know about my grandmother. Maybe she is fairly speedy, but this one, no. So, the slower the runner, the faster it is until you lap them one more time, especially on a circular track. Okay, hopefully that made a little bit of sense. Likewise, Pluto, being so far away, or Neptune if you prefer, barely budge in that year's worth of time. So Earth catches them in a little over a year, about a year and 2 or 3 extra days. They're back in opposition again. But in Mars' case, it takes more than 2 Earth years. So we get a good year like this year, 2020, when Mars is in retrograde. In 2021, next year, shucks, no Martian retrograde. But in 2022, yeah, it'll do it again. So, we get it every other year for the beautiful retrograde loop of Mars in the sky.